Welcome to Flags on Fire. We're the podcast geared towards all things flag football, and we aim to have kind of the top coaches, top players, leaders in the space, all with the intent to help give more exposure to the game and grow the game with a great lead up to the Olympics in 28 and all the excitement that comes along with that. So really excited to have Angela Villarreal on today, who's the head coach for Charleston Southern University. So thanks so much, Coach, for being on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so to start off, really just want to kind of to dive in and get a feel for your origin story, maybe what part of the country you grew up in, and the sports you played, if you're from a sporting family, before we kind of segue into your flag football journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can start wherever.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Awesome. So originally I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, so that's like really deep South Texas, close to almost like Mexico border type thing, so near South Padre Island and all of that. And I grew up there. I played pretty much sports all my life. I played like tackle football when I was a kid, a lot of basketball, and continued on with that in high school and played mainly basketball, did a lot of track and field, and decided to stick with basketball, and I went into collegiate basketball at a smaller Division 1 down there near the Valley as well. It's called UTRGV, or University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. And so I played there close to home, and spent most of my time there, I guess, developing and starting a lot of my strength and conditioning career and everything there too. And then once I finished playing and I graduated from UTRGV, I moved up to San Antonio, where I currently am, and decided to continue on with a lot of the athletic based like training and strength and conditioning and stuff like that for the collegiate setting mainly, and went to UTSA for my graduate program as well. So that's kind of where I continued on and continued coaching a whole lot after that.
So I think I read you have your background or specialty in kinesiology. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So kines and exercise science, pretty much the same thing.
So what advantage, if any, do you feel that gives you in your coaching from whether preparing athletes, helping with recovery, their movement patterns, any of those things?
Absolutely. I feel like a mix of it, honestly. I love working with pretty much all athletes, so it's just kind of a benefit that I get to work with flag football athletes now. But just off of, yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of their development, when it comes to a lot of their strength work, their power, their conditioning, their athletic based type training, like, speed and agility, a lot of those things that coincide with what they do on the field. But even a lot of the recovery part of things of, just preparing physically the way you should be doing at the level that they want to play at, and being able to avoid injuries and things like that. But I feel like a lot of it is definitely a mental game too, and I love that I can kind of help with the mix of that, and have a lot of that, I guess, you know um, background to kind of help with what I'm doing already on the flag football side of things. And our strength and conditioning department is great. Their head coach is definitely someone who's open to kind of like brainstorming and doing things like that with me as well, with my background. And I feel like that would help a whole lot with their training whenever they come on board.
Okay, great. So it sounds like maybe basketball was kind of your primary sport, or you played at the highest level there, collegiate with collegiate basketball. How did the path kind of veer towards flag football?
Yeah, I mean, I mainly, like you said, I was playing basketball just, I mean, because that's a sport that I decided to stay with, and it took me that far. But once I finished, I kind of lacked the that like competitive, environment and everything that I really enjoyed when it came to collegiate play. And when I started at UTSA, I got confronted by some people that were playing flag, and they had the rec league, and they were playing flag football there at UTSA, and asked me to join like at a practice. And then all of a sudden I was playing in the rec leagues, and learned kind of how big of an environment flag football kind of really had there at the university, but also everywhere. And got invited to my first Worlds tournament and all of that. And after that, it was kind of just, something that kind of filled that gap of, competing at that level with other athletes that probably had similar backgrounds to me, or just really love to compete and kind of go at it and everything. So it was definitely a fun thing to add.
Yeah, what's interesting is I was talking to Matt Riemel, who's with Resort Sports now, and he had kind of a lot of background in tournaments, big tournaments, Beast of the East, things like that. But he talked about, I don't remember what year it was, but when he first started getting like a elite group of like club girls together to travel, and a lot of them were oh, they play soccer full time or basketball full time, and kind of almost as if flag football was the afterthought, like, oh, you want me to travel across the country for this, whereas my primary sports is because they saw more of a pathway, maybe where like, hey, if I stick with soccer or stick with basketball, I could maybe get a college scholarship or go on that way. Whereas flag football, it's fun or whatever. Well, how much have times changed today? I mean, to where it is, it's a viable, viable path now to maybe play at the highest level. Like if you're a young boy or girl and love flat, especially on the girls side, because with the
Oh,
explosive
yeah.
growth on the college side. I mean, so what are your thoughts there?
No, yeah, I completely agree. I was actually having like similar conversations like this when I was in LA recently for like the Select Bowl and Summer Series and all of that. And it was similar like when it came to a lot of the girls that maybe have been there and they had a main sport before and it's like I heard parents saying like and this is like I guess she had some big play or something and some of the parents were like um and this isn't even her main sport. This is like her secondary, what she does for fun type thing. And I remember looking to one of the coaches next to me and I was like, I mean, for now, like that's like the idea for now, but I that's 100% going to change because it's just so much more fun. Like anybody that I ask that plays other sports, typically it's like they're great at that one sport. They're great at soccer or basketball and they can get a scholarship in that or something. But now that this is an opportunity like to play at the highest level in college at like any division really, but even at the Division 1 level where they can get a full scholarship for it, that kind of just changes the entire like mindset of a lot of the especially women girls coming in because they know like if they had the choice they'd probably choose flag because it's just different. It's a completely different environment. It's fun, it's engaging, and girls just have a great time playing it, honestly. So anybody that I've asked that, it's always like, yeah, it's just more fun. Like they don't even really know how else to explain it. It's that, but now we can actually go to school for this and we can, get our school paid for. We can play at this level and then we can maybe get to, playing pro and get to the Olympics or like make national team or like do all these different things, right? Um, and yeah, I completely agree. It's just completely different. I know if I ever had that kind of opportunity, that would be something that I would jump on for sure if I was in high school and had the opportunity to play flag football. Um, that it's huge for sure.
But it's interesting because I had Amber Clark Robinson on. I know she played college basketball, and she's playing in Team USA now. And Izzy Geraci played college basketball, and she's now Team USA. You played college basketball, and so maybe you guys didn't have the pathway when you were growing up at that particular time. But it's interesting how so many good basketball players are kind of crossing over and becoming like really really high level flag football players.
No, yeah, I agree. I feel like honestly a good amount of players that I either play with or have played against at, the highest level for flag, a lot of their backgrounds are basketball, which is, kind of crazy, but also every time I hear that it just makes the most sense. Like a lot of basketball um fundamentals and things that you have from basketball, they typically like relay over really easily into flag just from like court awareness and spatial things and having IQ in that type of sense and like it's all very much correlated. And so every time I've talked to girls that I'm like recruiting or something from high school and I hear that they play basketball, that's already kind of a win for me. Like I already know they probably um, have some sense of, direction in that sense for basketball and it's all going to correlate over to football for sure. Like it's just
Yeah, and
how
I
it
was
goes.
going to ask you about how that might play into your recruiting philosophy, because from what I understand, so your first season will not be spring of 27, right? It'll be spring of 28. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes,
So
exactly.
as you're looking to build your roster, fill out your roster, and I look at, I mean, I don't know if it's sanctioned where you're going. I know that you're coming from Texas, and I had, Jason Clam on recently. He was talking about how much
Yeah.
advocating they've been doing in Texas to try to get it sanctioned. I understand there's the pilot program going on. They had the first state championships, which is great. Is it sanctioned as a high school sport where you're going, or?
In Carolinas, I
Uh,
believe, North Carolina. Yeah, I think they're still working on it or something like that, but not fully, from
Maybe it's
where
in the pilot phase as well and not fully there.
exactly.
So therefore, I mean, if you're recruiting in your home state, you don't have the years of high school flag football experience at the high school level to draw from. So how might that play into your recruiting strategy to look for high level athletes from other sports and maybe teach them the game as you look to fill out your roster?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of the benefit of flag football, of how big it is and how, but also how small like the community is. Like a lot, I feel like a lot of us know each other, and so we have a lot of like connections into where we know where a lot of the pools of players are. And we're scattered everywhere, right? Like when it comes to big tournaments that we go and play, most of everybody is not from the same place. Like everybody's from somewhere different, but they are all like equally talented or great at flag football and everything. And so my goal right now is honestly reaching out to everybody that I know and have seen played or played alongside before, just because I have an idea of, where they are and who they are, but also going to as many events as I possibly can and getting out to different areas. It's a lot of travel for sure, and it has been a lot of travel up until now. But it has definitely gotten me in front of like faces and other players that I didn't know about or I haven't seen, but also, they're just as great. And a lot of the times they're not being seen because, maybe they don't have a chance to be in front of certain teams, or they don't have a high school team to play with, or they don't have a club team to play with, or something like that. But they get themselves to these showcases or these other like tournaments or something like that. And so it's honestly just getting to as many of those as possible, um, and just finding the talent wherever it is.
And I gotta imagine it's tough because I mean, there's only one of you, and I mean, I don't know how big your scouting or recruiting area is, and I know maybe a full blown men's college football program they've got a lot people more people I guess to kind of be out and about, and so again you can only be in one place at one time, so it's like how do you scale that
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, it's been a lot of travel. I can't wait till when, I'm able to bring on some assistant coaches with me and everything. I'll bring in on like some grad assistants to help with a lot of that, but again, it's mainly me right now, especially because we don't have a season until, 28. So we're kind of just building right now, and doing the best that I can, honestly. Just getting to
Yeah.
as many places as I possibly can and having as many conversations as I can, with a lot of the girls that I'm seeing or that I know. But yeah, it's the recruitment process and early stages, of course, and I expected that. So just taking it as it goes for sure.
Talk to me about your experience at the Select Series. I think it was what last weekend. So I was following it on Instagram, and I kind of had I went on USA Football to look for the link to be able to watch at least the men's team and the women's team play versus Canada and watch that. My kids were all into it watching it. But I do find that it's sometimes a little bit difficult to find accessibility, or how do you watch it? If I want to watch it, how do you watch it? So, and it's funny
Yeah.
because I ask different people on this, and then sometimes I get varied answers, or like, yeah, it's can not remember the name of it or whatever. So I want to get to the point where it's like when these big things come up that people are like, all
Yeah.
right, if I want to tune in, I can watch this. But it seemed really cool, like just from
Yeah.
afar. And I don't know how if they allow fans there or not. I mean, I live in Phoenix, and it wouldn't have been that far, to try to take my kids there to go see it because it seemed like it would have been fun. So talk about kind of the experience and how it all worked.
Yeah, yeah. So, pretty much for like the select board, the summer series event, they have a mix of like the select bowl events. They have the Stars and States event this year. And then they of course had like the international play. So you would see, junior national team playing, along with the, of course, women's national team and men's national team. So for select bowl and the Stars and States, those are all like invite only, like selections and everything. So they kind of pull from, I mean, different areas really, but for the Stars and States, they're all from like certain states. So I believe it was Texas, of course, Florida, um, California, and New York, I think. And so they had four of them, and they basically all had like a team. So there was four teams, and they pretty much did like a tournament for the most part. They all kind of played each other like twice or so, and then they went into kind of like bracket play depending on where they're seated. But yeah, they're all pretty much invite only, so you typically would get a good amount of, the best players from certain areas or certain states and everything. And then similar to Select Bowl, they have different age groups. So they have like your younger, I think 14U or something like that. I believe it's like 16, 18U or something like that. I may be a little bit wrong on the last part, but for sure 18U, 23U. Those are the main ones I was watching anyway. Which was, of course, the high school girls, and then those that were already playing like collegiately for the most part in the 23U. So same thing. They have four teams. There's like a red, a blue, a gray, and a white team, and they kind of just spread everybody out like as evenly as you can when it comes to like personnel and um, positions and stuff like that. And they make four different teams, and they all similarly over like the span of 2 days, I believe. They go through like pool play games. They all play each other, and then wherever they get seated, they have a tournament, and then you'll have a champion out of that similar to the Stars and States one. There's like a champion for Stars and States, champion for Select Bowl at like all of the age divisions. And then same thing with the boys and the men or men, the college kids. They have their series as well as the girls. And then there was, of course, I think Friday, women's national team and men's national team played Canada. So they had like that. Um, matchup or whatever. They just had one single game. So that was exciting. A lot of the younger girls and all the, athletes that were there kind of at the end of all their games on Friday, kind of went to like the main event, which was, the women's and the men's games going on. So that was fun for them to at least like see, the women's kind of going at it and everything like that. At that highest level, right? So that was always a really good experience for, I feel like, all the younger age groups and stuff like that.
Did your average fan be there, or was just kind of the people that were invited that were there watching?
So I mean, pretty much anybody can go. So like you, like as a fan or a spectator or anything like that, you can go, you just buy a ticket and you go and you can see all the games. So a lot of the times, of course, it was, all the parents, all the families, friends and everything like that. I went like as a college coach, so they had like their college coaches, like I guess placement and everything, and you pretty much have the similar like access to the area and everything like that, but you at least are like wearing something to let others know that you're a college coach and you're there basically scouting. So that's kind of how I went for that one. I also went, of course, to support the men and women's for international games and everything. I have a few friends on the team, so went to support them too.
You've been in those, you've played on some of those teams, haven't you, over the years?
Yeah, yeah, like at trials mainly, and pretty much with all of them for our regular adult play and everything. Those are all the teams that we play or my teammates, if anything.
So were you down on the field on the sidelines when the men's national and women's national teams were playing, or?
Yeah, so we were all like mainly on the sidelines. I think inside though, they only allow like the players for the most part, or like the younger group of athletes that can kind of be there. Aside from that, all the college coaches or anybody else are right outside, but we're kind of in the same area. So yes, pretty much on the ground floor, if anything, for the actual game. But yeah, it was fun. It was an exciting game, honestly.
Yeah, so by the time I got off of work, I watched most of the men's game, and I think it was like 50-18 or something like that. And I missed. I really wanted to see the women's game, and I missed it. I don't know, I was assuming against Canada they were going to blow them out. I saw that they lost 34-33. Tell me about that. Tell me about that game. Obviously, it was a good game, but was Canada pretty good?
Oh yeah, Canada is good. I feel like some people or just in general like are not always I wouldn't say aware, but they're not, you're not fully aware of the fact that, there are a couple of good teams that are outside of US, right? Like the
Yeah,
USA are always like our top team for the most part, right? But it's always, USA, Canada, and of course Mexico. So it's always like those top three for the most part. And so I only expected that it would be a good game.
yeah,
I honestly I didn't expect that, you know, USA would lose, but it happens. I mean, it was a
yeah.
really good game. It was back and forth for the most part. Feel like, just starting off slightly slow may have put them, behind. Canada went up like 14-0 at the very beginning. But then as usual, USA, starts playing the way they normally play and brought it back. But it was honestly a lot of back and forth. So it was just really good flag football back and forth. And that's just kind of how it all ended up, one game,
Yeah,
one
well, now
point
I
out.
know that Canada's right up there. I mean, I knew of Mexico, obviously, in that rivalry and everything, but I didn't realize that Canada was kind of in that same class. That's kind of cool to learn that. So,
Yeah.
with with where you're at now, I guess what coaching did you do prior to getting appointed? What in April is that when you got hired for your new coaching
For
job?
the most part, yeah, that was in April. Yeah. So honestly, really new. And honestly, most of my coaching for like sports stuff, like I haven't even had a full flag football like coaching role. Most of my coaching came from like all of the athletic based stuff, like working with flag football athletes and everything, but it's all strength and conditioning. My IQ and flag is all from playing. So playing for like the past, 7, 8 years now. And that's kind of what I'm using going into my first coaching position. And I was able to land a position at the highest level. And I feel like that was a huge win for me. I 100% was hoping the best for it. I didn't think I would end up in a position like this so fast, but staff and everybody that I spoke to at CSU had a lot of faith in me and everything, and trusted me with the position and with the first program. And I'm just excited to get the ball rolling and kind of share what I know and what I've experienced myself, and hopefully put a really, really good team together that wants the same thing.
Yeah, so was most of your playing experience in line with sevens or fives or
Honestly, it was mainly fives. It was mainly fives going in. I've played sevens before, like plenty of times, but um, a lot of it was built towards national team play. So a lot of that. And so a lot of it's mainly me transitioning that over into sevens a whole lot more, which I have been doing recently. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it's been like more national team style play to where that's kind of the goal for me. And that's what I hope to at least bring to this team and everything too. Of course, different for sevens, but that's something that I'm familiar with as well for sure.
great. So my question for you is having so much experience as a player and now as a coach. For the young girls now, 11, 12, 13 that are getting it. My daughter's 11, and so I'm coaching at kind of that age. But if you were kind of reworking your own journey now and growing up and there's so much more is accessible to you. Like, what advice would you give to young athletes in terms of especially girls to as they grow and anything you could add maybe to their overall development as athletes because of your background and what maybe they could focus on or any advice you might have.
Yeah, I feel like being at a younger age and as, girl or guy or whatever it is, but a lot of like our younger female athletes especially is just having, having the right mindset going into whatever it is that they're going to do, especially if it's flag football, knowing that they have all of these opportunities in front of them. And a lot of it is just a matter of them like putting in the extra effort and extra work to get there. And at this point, most of them have a lot of those avenues that they can kind of tap into. Like there's training from coaches, from flag football coaches, from strength conditioning coaches, kind of everywhere, especially for women's and girls flag football now. It is at least here in Texas. It's where I find mine. I know it's everywhere, like in Florida and in Nevada, like everywhere that I've seen. There's always coaches that are just popping up now, knowing that a lot of our athletes are flag football athletes and they're all wanting to make it at this level. And so all of those avenues are accessible. It's more so just going through the extra effort of, their development at that young age. But a lot of it is a mental game for sure, is learning kind of, where they are and what's in front of them and what it takes to get there. But just having kind of like that belief, that faith in themselves, knowing that it's all going to pan out the way that it should be, as long as they're putting in that work. A lot of the times, for me, if I'm recruiting and it's even like younger athletes and everything, I'm always looking at, how they respond to adversity, or how, things go wrong in the field, how they respond to their teammates. Like a lot of the times it's how their character evolves over, their athletic development. Because I mean, at that point, most coaches aren't really going to want an athlete who's amazing, but with a really bad attitude or character, right? So it's making sure that they're doing all of those things as well and not so much just focus on, being the best and everything like that. So just putting all those pieces together, taking their time and being patient with the process because eventually it'll work out if they're doing the right things.
What about advice for, because again, a lot of these college programs now, like yourself, like you might have small staffs right now, and it might be, to get
Right.
out and to see, I got to imagine there's so many diamonds on the rough out there. People, people that maybe girls are at the high school, high school level or even at the beginning of college and they played other sports, they haven't played a ton of flag, but they're good and they have a lot of potential. So like, how do they get on the radar of coaches that maybe have limited ability to see everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've come across a few of those honestly, like with, coaches who of course like send recommendations. There's always tons of, like I said, recommendations in film and everything coming in through emails and everything, messages every single day on these girls that, have potential and like have like can do all these things, but um don't know how to get in front of coaches or they don't have a ton of game film right now or their high school isn't sanctioned so a lot of their playing comes from like finding a team outside of high school or something like that, right? And so usually what I recommend is honestly just trying to get to any type of showcase or event where coaches are to where they can get seen if they're not already playing like on a club team. I would recommend finding a club team and playing in those things and then getting film and being able to like use that because a lot of what I've gotten is sometimes it's off of purely like game film and video and I haven't even been able to see them play in person because they're across like the state or something. They're somewhere else completely. And there's always events going on at the same time every single weekend at this point, especially throughout the summer. So, game film highlights like that are really, really big. They're game changers. It helps give me a much better idea. Um, but if they can't get that, then it's up to them to try and get to a showcase near them, get somewhere that they can be in front of coaches, to give them the best shot of being seen for sure.
Yeah. As you are looking to build your programming, what are some of the first things you're looking to build? Is it culture, recruiting, kind of your identity? Uh, what are your thoughts on what kind of how you're looking to build your program?
I mean, I feel like it's of course always going to be a mix of those things, but the main thing right now is the recruiting part for sure. Um, Once that recruiting part starts, becoming very much real and we have, all of our athletes start, committing and everything like that. And then we actually have athletes coming in on campus. I feel like that culture is only going to build from there once we have the girls, the right girls that, fit all the right puzzle pieces and everything like that. And that's kind of a big thing for me in recruiting is yes, making sure that they can play and play the role and be able to, develop and be consistent in that sense as an athlete or as a player. But once I know that, the main thing for me is figuring out whether they fit that culture that I want to build, whether they, have that right character, have the same mindset, are ready to work, just showing up. Because the main thing for me is as a coach, whether it was strength conditioning or coaching, basketball, football, whatever it is, it's always going to be um, them knowing that there's no sense in me, being able to coach effort of anything. So it's them having that same mindset, knowing coming into it, um, that that's something that I don't have to worry about. Is having that type of character overall and making sure that the girls mesh well together and have the right chemistry and they all fit properly. So it'll be building the culture once the girls are starting to come in, honestly. So yeah, recruiting for sure is probably number one. Culture is going to be right alongside that. And then once all of that gets going, I'm sure my identity as a coach and all of that will come on once season starts coming up and everything like that, and we can start actually, making a run at it and everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, what's your timeline? So if you don't play in 27, you play in 28. Like, what window are you trying to have girls that are committed and on? Are you? I mean, is it too early right now to? to have that, or do you have any yet, or how does that look?
Yeah, so right now I have a couple that would possibly be starting this coming year. The thing is, typically I wouldn't want my full like roster or anybody like that coming on until it's, the year that we're going to be playing. Just because that's kind of where the full pool that I'm recruiting from is a lot of our 27s, 28s of course for the year after, but a lot of our 27s for sure, and then transfers hopefully. And so that's the goal right now. I mean, it's typically going to be going into next year, pretty much, that they'll be coming in like maybe next fall, next summer. Um, but we may have a couple that are starting now just off of, you know, their timeline, if anything, but they will, of course, be aware of the fact that we won't be having a season. But we'd still be training, practicing as normal, getting kind of reps in and everything like that. But a majority of it is recruiting right now and building and planning for next year fully.
Okay. Very good. So for the next segment, we call it the rapid fire segment. So I'll ask you questions and kind of the first thing that pops into your mind, go ahead and give that as your answer. So maybe of all the levels you played, coached, who's the most dominant flag football player that you've ever encountered?
Ever encountered? That's a tough one. This isn't rapid fire. I can't even answer it. I'm trying not to be biased because she's also my friend. Um, for women's anyway, I'd probably choose Brianna Hernandez. She's like a very close friend of mine, but I actually mean it. I feel like she's a versatile player, can literally do anything you ask her to do on the field, defense or offense. And she's consistent with it. So yeah, I choose her for women's anyway.
Okay. Favorite football movie?
Favorite football movie? Basic, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, that's a good one. Um, did you watch NFL football growing up? Did you have a favorite team, favorite player?
Unfortunately, Dallas Cowboys. Yeah.
And who's your favorite player?
If we're talking like a long time ago, I would say, uh, I guess that's kind of hard. I'd go with Roy Williams, I'd say.
Yeah, I remember
Remember?
him. He's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
he played at Texas too, didn't he? University of
Yes.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it could be fives or sevens. One rule that you'd change if you could, if you had the power to change a rule, in flag football, what would it be?
Mm, I would say, hmm. If we're talking national team play, I'd probably say the physicality part of things, the not having any type of extension on an arm. I'd probably take that rule out.
You're the third person who said that. Rudy Fernandez was the first one. He said that when you go from to international play, like you can't make any type of contact whatsoever. Matt Riemel said that yesterday too. When he was because he's had some experience with Team USA, but yeah, it's funny because I guess I mean I didn't know that. I didn't know there was like a big difference there, but you're the third person that said that, so it's
Yeah.
got to be a big thing. It's got to be tough to adjust to, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of all the tournaments you've played in or been to, name one that maybe was the best overall tournament atmosphere.
I mean, it's usually Worlds, honestly. It's usually Worlds tournament. I'd say either this past year or maybe even the year prior to that. Um, Worlds tournament. Everybody was kind of going at it. I think like everybody had a championship at that point. A lot of the top like women's teams anyway. But just the environment at Worlds is always extremely um competitive and a little bit more intense and sometimes too intense, but always a fun time. It always is always really, really good good play there. You could always see a lot of your top players there. So I'd say Worlds either this past year or the year before.
Okay. What would you say is maybe the most underrated position in flag football?
Underrated. Hmm. I'd go with either rush or center,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah, either rush or center. I'm kind of in the middle. Rush is just like you think you could just pick the fastest person type thing, but takes a whole lot out of rushing. It's really hard to rush for a full game if you're doing it the entire time, but also being able to time things properly, not get blown out, not run into somebody, break down easily, like actually pull the flag and not just run by the person. Um, I think that's underrated for sure because it seems like a simple job, but it's not. Um, and then center, feel like, oh, you think you just hike the ball and then run like a little short route. But I mean, that can make a big difference if you don't do it the right way, or you can always have a really, really good center that can kind of turn into like an outstanding receiver, right? So having the right person there, I feel like is really important too. So I'd go with one of those two.
I meant to ask you earlier, what did you play for the main positions you played?
On offense, mainly receiver, and then defense, typically DB, like corner usually.
Okay. So as you're building your program, and let's just say a couple years from now, you're gunning for a championship. What do you think? And ideally, you'd like to have both, but if you had to pick to say what's more conducive to winning a championship, elite quarterback play or elite defense play?
Oh, that's tough. I'd probably go with defense though. Um, Defense is always going to make the biggest difference, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about, like the big USA Canada game, I mean, if they would have had a defensive presence on both ends, it would have been tough, but neither of them could stop each other, and that's kind of why it continued to happen.
Yeah.
So I would say, defense usually wins a game, if it's the right defense, right coverage for sure.
Okay. Um, who's the best flag football quarterback that you've ever either played with or played against?
Flag football quarterback. Um, I mean, I'm biased. I'll probably choose my own quarterback, Candace Bird, but also second to that, I'd go with Lacey LaBelle. So
Okay.
love both of them. Yeah.
Where did Candice Bird play?
Well, she originally started playing like with the original Lights Out team. She didn't play college. She's been playing for years, for the longest time. She took like a short break and now she's playing back up again. She's a quarterback for Shrooms. My current team is Shrooms.
Okay.
And so, yeah, do you know like the Shrooms company and everything like that for
Yeah,
flag?
I know the company, or I've
Yeah.
heard of the company and the products.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's like basically the team that represents them, like Shrooms specifically. It's our women's pro team and the men's pro team as well. But yeah, she's the quarterback for Shrooms currently. And then Lacey is technically with our Apex team, but she's also been like established through Team USA play and everything too before as well.
So this team that you play on with Shrooms, what league is this in?
I mean, it's not a league. It's just like a one of like the women's pro teams that we'll play on. And by pro, I just mean we usually play like in those whatever tournament it is, we're playing at like the pro level instead of like the comp level type thing. And so yeah, I mean we pretty much play everywhere. It's kind of all over the place. Like if we're gonna play at Worlds or any of the iFlag tournaments, or any tournament in general. But it's basically like our main like club team that we play with, like that we travel with, basically.
And in some of those tournaments, is there prize money for teams that win it, or
Yeah, yeah. Depending on the tournament, there's typically cash prizes and everything. If we're playing like, for example, like a weekend warrior tournament is like I guess a type of tournament that they have. They have different tournaments year round. Those are typically cash prizes. Usually I flag like at Worlds, those are all cash prizes as well for the top ones, the pro ones. But yeah, yeah, a majority of them are depending on which ones you go to.
put yourself more in a player mindset here as you're getting ready to play maybe in a big game. What music's playing pregame for you?
Pre-game. Honestly, I'm very much like a chill person before pregame. I don't really get super hyped up until we're like on the field. Um, I would probably go with like Noah Kahan is kind of somebody, it's more like mellow,
Yeah,
but
he's
also
good.
kind of like fast. Yes, so I would go with like Noah Kahan type music.
Okay. What is your favorite, or what you think is maybe best football rivalry?
Best football rivalry. I mean, if we're talking like national team, USA and Mexico, of course, for women's especially. Um, yeah, I'd go with that. That's probably top right now.
I can't wait till the next time that they match up because like I keep hearing I don't know that I've ever seen it live or anyway, one of those matchups, but it seems like, it's usually highly contested, close games, could go either way and two great teams. So
Definitely two
um
great.
yeah. Um what of all the cities you've been in, well, I mean, I guess we could say US or international, what's the best flag football culture that you've seen?
Culture. Hmm. There's kind of, I feel like there's mixed reviews on this. So if I say anything, somebody's going to disagree with me, honestly. But for me personally, um, hmm, I feel like usually if we've gone to like tournaments anyway, in like Carolinas and stuff like that, or even Florida, I feel like it's pretty good culture out there, if anything. That's what I've heard anyway, especially for like high school players and stuff like that
Mhm.
too. Um, Community is pretty good. I mean, here in Texas as well, we kind of have a really big flag football community. So I, of course, would say that because I'm a little biased on that. But other than Texas, I would say either like Carolinas or Florida.
Okay. And then maybe outside of anything we've covered, talked about any message maybe we didn't talk about that you'd want to share with the audience, just in general.
That I'd want to share with the audience. Um, Honestly, just the fact that I'm extremely excited for the continued growth of flag football and excited to actually officially be a part of it at the level that I'm a part of it. And um, I just love the sport. I love everybody that I've been able to encounter and connect with, including you and including everybody that's just trying to grow the sport and bring eyes to it and everything. And I'm just honored to kind of be on here and be able to share my story of, just my small part in it and everything. And looking forward to season coming up and having our first season, seeing, it being played at the highest level at Division 1, no matter what school it is. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere, especially come, NCAA championship year, which should be 2028. So that'll be extremely exciting. And I just know it's gonna build from here on out. So yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it, honestly.
Yeah. And then lastly, so if you're in my shoes and you're trying to have a podcast to bring, more good information, exposure about all things flag football, could be collegiate level, US team, what have you. Um, who are some guests that I should absolutely try to get in front of?
Um, I mean, you're doing a really good job with who you brought on. I feel like you've had a good amount of like coaches and players already, right? Um, Honestly, just I would say same avenue. I would recommend um maybe like one of the QBs like Lacey. I would say like Lacey, um, Candace, Vanita, if anybody. I mean, she's obviously been in it for the longest time, has plenty more than me to say on it, you know. Um, Anybody on national team, they'd all pretty much have a whole lot of background to kind of give their insight on it from the inside and everything. But yeah, that's kind of who I would recommend is mainly like those that have been in it for a good while, like those that I've mentioned for sure.
Okay. Well, Angela, thanks so much for being on. I'm excited to watch your journey as a coach, and follow in the coming months, even on Instagram, your program, to see when you start to get all the commits coming in, and you field your team, you field your roster, and you get ready for that first inaugural season, and as you all the excitement that comes around building your program. So I'll be a fan from afar. I appreciate appreciate your time, and I'll be able to pick your brain and your insight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing me on and being able to, allow me to share a lot of what I've got going on in my background and everything. So thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.